the files that refused to stay silent. The room was quiet except for the low hum of fluorescent lights. Deep inside the city's evidence storage facility, metal cabinets lined the walls, each one filled with forgotten stories. On their spines were dates written in fading ink: 1978, 1983, 1996, 2001. These were the cases no one talked about anymore, the ones that never had an ending. They were known as cold cases. But in 2025, that silence was finally broken. Case 1, the girl at mile marker 17. On a cold October night in 1996, 17-year-old Emily Carter finished her shift at a small roadside diner just outside town. She waved goodbye to her coworkers, climbed into her old blue sedan, and began the drive home she had taken 100 times before. She never made it. When Emily didn't return home, her parents contacted police. Hours later, her car was found pulled over near mile marker 17 on a deserted stretch of highway. The engine was off. Her purse sat on the passenger seat. There were no skid marks, no broken glass, and no signs of a struggle. It was as if Emily had simply stepped out of her life. Search teams combed the nearby woods for days. Helicopters flew overhead. Volunteers put up posters across 3 counties. But no body was ever found, and no suspect was identified. As months turned into years, hope slowly faded. By 2002, the case was officially declared cold. Nearly 3 decades later, a young forensic analyst named Lena Morris reopened the file. She noticed something overlooked in the original investigation: a single hair preserved inside the seatbelt clasp. In the 90s, it meant nothing. In 2025, it meant everything. The hair was entered into a national DNA genealogy database. Within hours, a match appeared. The DNA belonged to a long-haul truck driver who had died in 2011. Further investigation linked him to multiple disappearances across state lines. Emily had been one of his victims. Though the suspect was gone, the truth was finally known. Emily's family received answers after 28 years of waiting. A headstone was placed in her name, no longer marked missing but remembered. Case 2, the house that never slept. In the quiet suburb of Maple Street, there stood a large Victorian house with creaking floors and darkened windows. In 1983, it belonged to Robert and Helen Moore, a retired couple known for keeping to themselves. One evening, neighbors reported hearing unusual noises: footsteps, a loud thud, and then silence. When police entered the home, they found Robert and Helen dead in their living room. There were no signs of forced entry. No weapon was recovered. Nothing appeared stolen. The house seemed untouched, yet something terrible had happened inside. The investigation went nowhere. Witness statements contradicted each other. No fingerprints matched anyone in the system. Over time, rumors replaced facts, and the house gained a reputation as a place of whispers and shadows. Decades later, the case was reopened using modern 3D crime scene reconstruction technology. Investigators digitally rebuilt the house from old photos and blueprints. That's when they discovered something strange: a narrow crawl space hidden between 2 walls, never documented in official records. Inside it, investigators found dust-covered objects left behind in haste: a rusted knife, fragments of clothing, and fingerprints preserved in darkness. The fingerprints belonged to the Moore's nephew, a man who had briefly lived with them before abruptly leaving the country shortly after their deaths. He was tracked down and arrested at the age of 72. For 42 years, the house on Maple Street had kept it secret. Now, it could finally rest. Case 3, the call that ended the night. At 2:14 a.m. on a rainy night in 2001, a 911 dispatcher received a call that lasted just 7 seconds. No words, only heavy breathing, and then a sudden scream. Hours later, Daniel Reyes, a 22-year-old college student, was found dead in a downtown parking garage. At the time, technology couldn't extract much from the call. Investigators were left with more questions than answers. The case stalled, then faded. Years passed. In 2025, audio analysts used advanced sound enhancement software to re-examine the recording. Hidden beneath the static was something previously unheard: a subway announcement playing in the background. The announcement identified a specific train line and station. Security footage from that station, archived and nearly deleted, showed Daniel arguing with another man just minutes before the call was placed. The man followed Daniel out of frame. That man was identified, arrested, and convicted. 7 seconds had been enough to tell the truth, once technology finally knew how to listen. The truth always waits. Cold cases don't disappear, they wait. They wait in evidence rooms, in forgotten recordings, in tiny details no one noticed the first time. Time doesn't erase the truth, it preserves it. In 2025, 3 families finally recall